Hello, everybody, and welcome back to On the Verge podcast, the truth in podcasting. Today is Friday, May 2nd, 2025. So we have a number of topics today that we're gonna discuss. And the first thing I want to do, though, is just kind of hit on some of the things that we've talked about in the past. And I'll introduce my guests in just a minute. But one thing I want to cover real quick is the intent of this podcast. This podcast, of course, is going to have political overtones to it, but what we're not going to do is we're not going to go off the rails in one direction or the other. We are going to continue to bring what's important to the community to the community. It doesn't matter to me, even though I'm your House District 2 representative and I am a Republican, what matters to me is the people in this district. And we all suffer from the same things and we're all happy about the same things. And our rights are our rights. And this podcast will represent those rights on both sides of the aisle. So now that that's out of the way, I mean, we did have some comments that we're not going to get into, but I really enjoy the ability to bring more transparency to the people of House District 2 and to the state for that matter. We're getting a lot of good coverage, and we're going to continue to do that. So with that said, I'm going to move to introductions here of my guests, and to my immediate left here, Jared, please introduce yourself and why you're here.
I'm Jared. I'm a local community advocate. I work with a bunch of different organizations. I'm here today to bring to light a new endeavor that we've started here in Roseburg, which is Umpqua Basin Food Not Bombs. We are a non-political, nonpartisan organization that derives directly to grassroots feed our communities and derive support to people that need it.
Great. Thank you, sir. And to my right.
I'm Trent Drake. I am the Douglas County Republican Central Committee Chair.
Thank you guys for joining me.
Yeah.
As you know, and as most people you don't have to go very far to see. You can go downtown Roseburg and see that we have some homeless issues, and we have some people that are hungry. Frankly, we have people that are not being fed. I don't know that the state's really figured out the answer to the best solution to take care of these problems, but there are a lot of grassroots organizations picking up all over the state that are trying to step in and do some work. And frankly, that's a great thing. And I met Jared, it's been a few weeks ago. I had a meeting. I actually called a meeting with him. He was there and several other of your friends. And we talked about a number of topics, but one of the ones we spent the most time on was the homeless issues and frankly, trying to feed folks. So since then, we've met again, and we were talking about how the state might be able to step in and help in some ways financially or what we can do. So Jared, why don't you go ahead and give us a little rundown of what it is you're actually doing?
Essentially what we do, it's like 7 or 8 of us. We come out on Saturday at around 11:30 in the morning. We meet at Frog Leg Studio on the corner of Stevens and Lane. And we kind of just have a potluck. Everyone brings whatever they can bring, and we have people in the community bring by extra food. We cook some food and we hand it out to some folks that are hungry.
So who is bringing the food? I mean, do you have a network of folks that you've been working with now?
Kind of, sort of, yes and no. We have a couple different organizations that semi-regularly bring us whatever stuff they have left over from their feeds. We have a bunch of great folks up at the farmers market that give us anything they're going to be wasting or don't want to take home.
And that's on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have one of the guys just round up to the farmers market, and he goes around with a little bag and they give us all their extra stuff. And it's been amazing so far. The people have really, really liked it.
Yeah, the day that I went down there, I've been in session, so I haven't been around a lot. But the day that you invited me to come down, and it was pretty neat to see what you had, like a bunch of hot dogs. Wow, that's kind of cool. Made me hungry. What do you see for a future? I mean, are you looking to expand into a building, a facility, or what are you looking for?
The hopes eventually are just to make sure no one in our area is hungry. We're not sure entirely how we're going to do that, whether it be we get an established location where we can feed out of regularly, where our doors are always open to feed anyone that needs it, or whether it's to be continuing the pop-up as we're doing, whether it be same location, different locations, multiple locations. We haven't really found a course of action yet. We just know that there's a desperate need and we need to fill it.
Fantastic. There are some organizations locally here that are doing similar things. The Mission, and there's the place out on Diamond Lake Boulevard. I can't think. Dream
The Dream Center.
What sets you aside? What makes you different than them? What, I guess, why not just go work with them? What makes your organization that you're trying to build more desirable?
The issue we've been seeing with these other locations and stuff is people don't want to necessarily go utilize those resources because there's still a form of barrier attached to it, whether it be anti-religious, so they have some form of religious trauma and you have to go say a prayer before a meal, or it's a women's only place that you can go, or it's a men's only place you can go. There's places where you have to go where you can't be an active drug user, or where you can't be an alcoholic, or there's some form of barrier that's placed upon them where they can't go and have their basic essential needs met. And we don't have that. The only thing you have to do is come deal with a bunch of punk ass kids sitting there talking.
So you're trying to kind of cut down the middle, and you're trying to catch those folks that are not necessarily included because of whatever barriers there may be, to the left or the right. How long have you been doing this?
We've been out doing feeds since March 1st, I believe, was our first feed. I can't remember exactly. It's been a couple of months here now, and time's kind of just flying at all of us. So
I'll bet in that time period, because you've been at it for a few weeks now, you've seen a group of folks that have been coming and eating the food or taking it or whatever. Is it the same group that's taking it every time, or are you getting new people every
we get new people every time, but we do have a same core group of about 30 people that come and eat with us every week, whether they show up at the beginning and hang out the rest of the day, or they show up in the middle and hang out the rest of the day. We have a core group of people that usually shows up and just comes, hangs out, shoots the shit with us.
and there's no charge? I
Nope.
mean, if they want to come and they're hungry and you guys, I mean, that's awesome. And I mean, the Bible says to do that. So, I mean, it's like, if you believe in that, that's pretty awesome too. One of the things that I see in Salem quite a bit is we often concentrate on the underserved, right? And when I say the underserved, it could be, your nationality, it could be your sexual preference, it could be, your, whatever it is, maybe you have a handicap or whatever. But sometimes what it seems to me like is the underserved, there's a group that don't fit that category. And I'm always arguing that in Salem. It's like, look, I have a lot of white people that live in House District 2 that are poor and broke and can't afford a house. And I think what you're doing is you're actually catching that group of people as well, right? You're not out there just saying, hey, we're only going to the underserved, we're only going to the religious people, we're only going to the.
We don't care about that. I don't care if you make $10 million a month and you're on your way to your next business meeting and you just want to grab a bite to eat with us. Come on over, grab a bite to eat.
So a poor state legislator like myself could stop and have a hot dog?
Absolutely.
Well, I probably will. I think it's a great program. I think there's a lot of work to do, and you and I spoke about what the state could possibly do to help you, that was just a week ago or so you probably haven't had a lot of time. But are you going to incorporate yourself and try to turn this thing into an organization that's actually a 501c3 or something along those lines?
I believe that's our intention. I just not sure we're quite there at the moment because we don't have necessarily the community backing and support that we'd like before we go and make that huge jump and step.
To do that is going to require space, right?
Exactly.
You're going to need a building, you're going to need a kitchen, you're going to need, permits and what have you. And a lot of these other organizations have that already. So to get there, you're going to need state help, right? I mean, we talked a little bit about the numbers, but you're probably going to be approaching the $200,000 mark if you can find a place to rent and do the kitchen or what have you. And you had asked specifically if there was something that the state could do to help. And my answer to you was, and I still hold this to today, is that I think there is capital construction money that can be used for this, and or there's other sources of money, but they're going to require your organization to become that organization. You're going to have to have your 501c3 in place. You're going to have your plan in place, your kitchen in place, your members in place, and move forward. So, what do you see long term? Do you feel like that's something we can work together to get to?
Longevity, absolutely. Our biggest thing is we just want to ensure that everyone gets adequate representation through us, that it's not just being swayed towards more of a one party per se resource, not necessarily a political party, but like one derivative of persons, be it class or gender or.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, that just makes me smile, because when I hear that it's all inclusive, that's my mission, right? We should all be included. Um, and we have another guest coming up here in a little while. We're going to talk a lot more about the homeless issue and even maybe some addiction issues and whatever. But Jared, as a person that you said, I think you told me you grew up here.
I've grown up here most of the majority of my life.
So, and you're younger than me. I mean, I've got you beat. I could be your dad. I got you beat by a few years, but you've seen it and I've seen it. Trent, you've seen it. The homeless issue has become, it used to be not much of an issue. And in the last, say, 8 years, maybe 10 or less, it's become a huge issue. And I have to ask, why do you think it's become that?
Douglas County is...
It's okay. You can answer. You're safe here. It doesn't matter.
Douglas County is definitely forgotten about from Salem and Portland. We are... Just because we're a big county doesn't mean we have the infrastructure to support our people. We don't have the adequate resources to provide these people the things they need, whether it be access to mental health treatment, or be it treatment programs for addiction, or be it any other stuff. Like, if you need any form of treatment like that, you have to go to Eugene, or you have to go to Salem, or you have to go to Grants Pass. And for some people, that's not feasible.
Sure.
So those people kind of just get dropped between the cracks and forgotten about. And when they're dealing with an extreme mental health crisis, that can lead to them losing their houses or their housing, and then they're just on the streets and they're expected to figure it out while they're going through an active mental health crisis.
Gotcha. So in I don't remember the year, but we passed was it ballot measure 110, I think, which legalized hard drugs, or decriminalize hard drugs. I noticed an increase in homeless issue when the addiction issue started to become a bigger and bigger deal. And part of the whole process of that ballot measure was that the marijuana money because we legalized marijuana and we tax it, right? I think the state of Oregon has about a 7% tax that they pick up off of marijuana sales. And then in different jurisdictions, counties, cities can add to that tax if they want to support their police force or whatever. But within that, they were supposed to use that money for exactly what you're talking about. It was supposed to come back for mental health, addiction health treatments. Okay. That didn't happen. And the money was there, and I think a lot of the money is still there. Some of it might have been swept for other things, but it didn't happen. And would you think, I mean, you're not wrong when you say Douglas County was ignored. I think we were. I'm hoping that trend will change. But how do you feel about that? I mean, do you understand where that money was supposed to be coming from?
Exactly. Like, if that money is supposed to be there and it's supposed to be given to one's cause, it should be given to that cause. Like, I feel there was money that was given to that cause. I'm not sure entirely on the specifics, but if it was given to Portland, Lane County, Jackson County. It wasn't given to us here in Roseburg.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that but I don't think it was well spent either. I think there was there was money that never got used for the intent that it was supposed to be used for. And what I'm hoping, and with the change of that, when we passed the House Bill 2002, I think it was last year in the short session, that recriminalized the hard drugs. There was a piece in that where the legislature, particularly the Republicans, wanted to kill the whole thing. And of course I am a Republican, but we came back tried to stay a little smarter about it. And we tried to say, okay, rather than kill this program, because it has some really good, to build a program where there's incentives and taxes that are funneled to certain places, to just kill the program makes it so difficult to ever have it back. So the route we chose was let's kill the bad parts of it, which was about 80% of that ballot. And keep in place. And now our intention is we're monitoring where that money's going. And there has been some increase in the beds here locally. I think there's been some money spent. I know Mercy has some stuff going on, and I don't have the details, but I'm hoping we see an increase in that, because I do believe that mental health is probably a huge issue, that it's one of the top factors that is causing the issues that we see on the streets right now. So, but anyway, that doesn't solve the problem of people need to eat. So
Exactly.
what you're doing does, and that's very much appreciated. And we're going to probably have to close here for a commercial in just a few minutes, but is there anything else you'd like to hit us up with on the closing?
No.
Okay, Trent?
I would just add one thing, and make sure that you really research and drill down on the specifics. Like what Virgil was saying about Bill 2002, we know for a fact that prior to that, the provisions in there for homeless people taking advantage of that was extremely tiny. So really research those things down, what there are places available for homeless people, what those are, how they are, what their metrics are. That would just be an advice, and understand the metrics. I've always said,
I don't even understand them all.
yeah, but the numbers don't lie,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
that will help you understand your specific needs and how to approach that.
And listen, don't give up.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're doing is honorable. Keep up the work you're doing. It's appreciated. I hear you. I mean, they can't ignore me in Salem because I'm pretty big.
You're there pretty much every day.
I'm there pretty much every day.
No, we're going to be here until there's no more hungry people here.
Yeah. Well, and stay with me. I mean, and you're welcome to come back on the podcast as you progress through these through your building of your organization, whatever direction that takes. Please continue to stay with us and work with us, and I'll continue to fight for you. I mean, again, when it comes to feeding people and giving them shelter, politics shouldn't have much to do with it, right? It's human.
It should be the humanity, not
Humanity,
politics.
Yeah. So, with that, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. And we're going to cut to a commercial. So take care and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome back to On the Verge, and thank you for joining us here. So we're going to move on to our second guest of the morning, and we've already introduced Trent, so everybody knows who he is. He's my sidekick. But today I'm happy to have Dane with us, and Dane and I met. We've known each other for a while. We've had some meetings and stuff. Well, Dane, go ahead and introduce yourself if you would.
So I'm Dane Zahner. I've lived here in Douglas County for about 21 years. I'm an open gay man. I work with a lot of different organizations. Uncle Heart is something I'm on the board of. It's a nonprofit focused on unsheltered people and helping support people that are unhoused and doing a lot of different things. And then I'm also part of the LGBTQ, probably one of the longest nonprofits here in Douglas County. It's Douglas County Gay Archives. It was started in 1987, focused on originally people living with HIV and people passing away from that disease in the early days. Now it's a manageable disease. They ran like Ruby House and different. We just continued to focus to bring light on the LGBTQ community, and that we're here and there are some queer people in the community.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. I have to tell you, I had a meeting. It's been a couple months ago now. I actually called for a meeting and got together with you and a few other in the LGBTQ community. And that's where I met Jared. And it was an amazing meeting. I mean, we talked about a lot of things that are really important to the community. I just don't get hung up on political differences when it comes to that kind of stuff. I think it's important. We are all human. We all have our beliefs and what we do. And we all either suffer or we're all happy about some of the same things, because this is House District 2. This is not the rest of the world. So I'm thrilled that you and I have continued to have good dialogue, and we're going to have a lot more, because I think the stuff that you're looking out for is super important. So on that note, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the homeless issue that we're having. Let's talk about, whatever you find important. What's your daily I guess job? What are you doing in the public right now?
My day job is with another agency, but with the homeless situation, I think we haven't seen much movement forward. And I've seen some great things happen in other communities. I work in 4 different counties, so I've seen things happen in Coos Bay, and you see the Devereaux Center and the Salvation Army is taking that on, and they're continuing. They have Cold Lake Village over there. They're expanding that. They're offering some sheltering and bringing community partners to those individuals to connect them to more stable housing. It's not like you can't take somebody from homelessness to shelter without wraparound services and support. And, so on the boots on the ground, I think, those things are happening. We just need more peers, more community healthcare workers really navigating those systems, because the dynamics is there are some addiction issues. Not everybody's doing illicit substance use. There's mental health issues. There's alcohol use, and I think everybody thinks that everybody that's unhoused is always doing illicit substances, and that's not necessarily true. There's some good OHA data that supports, what that looks like, and alcohol use is definitely a bigger use out there. And how do we help our community members. I think it's having conversations like this, bringing more of our community leadership into the conversation. But we seem to be at a standstill, and it has been like that for about 5 years as it's gotten worse. You can definitely look also. There's a good research subject that was done in Washington, Oregon, and California that when 110 got implemented, Washington didn't do that. California didn't do that, but they had the same outcomes we were having here. So I don't necessarily think it was legalizing, and that was more trying to destigmatize the addiction aspect of it. And I think that was a good measure. Was the implementation correct? Probably not. I mean, I think the boots on the ground aspect, oh my God, it's amazing having these peers out there and supporting the peers that are making things happen for individuals. That is a true win. Sure. If it's in the treatment side, if it's in the housing programs, if it's in the harm reduction resources, those are all things that we saw, the connecting, taking things to the street and having like connecting point initiatives, which are happening in multiple counties. Those are things that are huge success in bringing all those burn partners together. Right. Because it does take, and I've seen such a collaboration with treatment and harm reduction and housing programs all working together on the street. I think we just need more of that. We definitely need to find some safe locations where we can put people until we can secure a better situation for them. And
that seems to be, yeah. Sadler, as you mentioned, that's so
I think, we need more support and more money to kind of focus on having some peer support on there that can work on the inside, working with those individuals. There's also that you got to kind of be realistic too. There are some individuals there that might need such intense mental health angles that there's nothing that exists like a safe home where you can put people as they transition, as they get, because they can recover. Right. Sure. They can recover from the mental health issues.
So I look at this, I've been in the legislature now. This is my third session. So I've been there going into my third year. And that has been the number one issue in the legislature for a while, is the homeless issue and the drug addiction. Of course, in the short session, we worked on the drug addiction thing by trying, we recriminalized drugs. I think fentanyl was like the outlier. When this whole thing passed, when 110 passed, fentanyl really wasn't the drug it was pointed at because it really wasn't popular. And all of a sudden it became popular and people started dying. And I think that the passing the legislation that recriminalized that and actually going after those folks that were dealing fentanyl, I think that will make a difference in not necessarily in homeless, but in harm reduction. I mean, there's a lot of kids dying from, their first dose of fentanyl and all of a sudden they're gone. But
what I need emphasis on, like Canada, the North has drug testing. It will support not only law enforcement to know what's in the substances that are coming into our community when, a faster time frame of knowing what's in the substances. So what are we battling on the treatment side? What do they need to do to help support the individuals that are on these substances from the law enforcement angle, knowing, maybe they could pinpoint where these substances are coming from. Honestly, these cartels, they have a system that works. They found a niche.
Yeah.
In Oregon, the United States loves their drugs. And for some, originally the opioid epidemic started with prescriptions.
Yes.
And then it moved into illicit substance, and they just saw a gap. And they have a business model that seems to work to get the drugs here. And how do we stop that business model and make it unsuccessful?
Well, and hopefully, yeah.
I think it takes us all in the community.
I agree.
It's not, there's a lot of different angles of how do we stop the drugs from getting here? How do we make sure that these cartels aren't going to just have a little zoom ships dropping drugs off? I don't know. I hear around the answer. They have market here, and how do we stop that market?
I think
that's treatment.
I think treatment will definitely plays a part in the picture, but I think also stopping some of it's come across the border is a difference. I actually went down to the border and visited last spring in Yuma, and I mean, what we're seeing on TV is nothing compared to how bad it really was. I mean, it was really bad, and I don't even get into the stories that I was told while I was there. And we also went to some receiving centers where people come to and where they bring the kids to. And the stories are just atrocious. But I look at the homeless thing myself as I see we have a number of issues. Of course, the addiction is a piece of that issue. the lack of housing is a big piece of that issue. The lack of being able to build houses. Our governor has said that she wants 36,000 houses a year built so that we can increase the inventory to reduce the rents, right? I mean, when you're building houses, when you have houses all over the place, rents are cheaper because you have an option, or you can buy them cheaper, whatever. Last year, I think we built 14,000. The year before that was like 11. So we're not even getting to the halfway point of the number of houses we need to build. I feel like the legislature has missed the boat on this. Now, again, not getting too political, because obviously I'm on the Republican side of the legislature. We don't get to control that piece, but I feel like they have. And maybe you feel differently, but it feels to me like they focused on the wrong things, and I think we need to maybe turn a corner and start focusing on the right things. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. And I think what you can't take somebody from homeless to housing. So we
Right.
definitely need to build some more infrastructure and apartment buildings, housing. But one model that's not kind of, you don't see like tiny villages and tiny homes being built. I mean, there must be some sort of niche where we could get individuals to do that too. But I think we need to look at immediate sheltering. How do we have access to immediate shelter? There are some communities that have some models that are working. We just happen to, Sutherland is a good example. So is a great house law enforcement, like finding something that's unsheltered, taking them to a safe location. I've seen that in Curry County and a couple of Port Orford, Gold Beach, same thing. That's compassion, love, and understanding that you take somebody somewhere that's in trouble, and then the next day get them connected to some resources. And what does that look like? Having the DAP crisis team help support those individuals, or having some peer programs come out and support that individual if it's illicit substance use, how to safeguard that individual, maybe connect the dots to treatment and access if it's available. I think that's one of our gaps, is like, the focus point, but we really need some safe place to put them. Every community should have. Sure, we're looking at, there's a number that was given recently, about 150 people living at the point. What do we do? How do we help support them? It's not it's inhumane in the aspect. They don't have bathrooms out there. There are some garbage dumpsters, but like looking at it from just a human rights angle, that's not a perfect solution. So let's find a better space where we can maybe put them temporarily, if it's tents and the tiny homes. Kind of the rogue retreat model down in Jackson County is like, that's working. And it's
So what do you do about those people that not my backyard people, right? I mean, that every time this comes up in Roseburg, what I see, the first thing that happens is not in my backyard. Nobody wants it close by. Where do we find that property? Now, Sutherland was fortunate; they had some stuff that was just outside of the city. But what do we do?
I know Uncle Hart was working on a process. Last year we developed a plan. It was about a $5 million plan over 3 years. There was some property available on Diamond Lake, and it would have been a perfect example. We're kind of trying to bring people in to a camping, get them into more of a bunk style, and then into tiny homes, and then having all those different agencies come out there and work with those individuals and connect the dots. I mean, when we started Sutherland and Uncle Hart was running that, we had about a 50% success rate in connecting people. And then you have to identify, it's like, horrible. How do we help the people that need a lot more intensity, like the 13, 14 people that are living out at Hastings Village now? They can't be connected to what exists. And the mental health angle is the most important piece of that. Is like, they need maybe a group home that can be rehabilitated, worked with, get all that aspect of their life dealt with, and then they can be successful. We've seen that success, but I think we just don't have, that's where the legislator should really be focused on, like bringing back some grassroots style, group home situations where we maybe transfer those people into them is more humane. They had bathroom access, water access.
So of course that has to start at a city, county, then state level. So state can fund projects, but the county has to ask for it. The city has to ask for it.
I think that's what we're kind of missing right now is the cities that are having success, maybe influencing and showing a model to other communities that are not having those successes. And you can easily point those out and pick them out. I grew up in Upper Peninsula, Michigan, and one thing that me and my husband noticed this year, I went back for my 40th high school reunion, and there was no visible sign of homelessness.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know the answer. It was Roy. I was asking that question. I'm like, we were spending a lot of time in parks. We drove around. A lot of there might be a deterrent factor because you're but nice. I always kind of jokingly said, well, we're going July 4th. It's a nice summer day that you have, and then winter starts. But
Right.
it was interesting, like from our perspective of looking at it, is like they're doing something that's a solution because you don't have the tents on the street. Eugene's a good example. Like during COVID, they put everybody underneath the bridge. They took the resources to there. When they broke that up, all of a sudden, every time we go to Eugene, you see tents all over the stories. So that's not a good answer. And that's a larger, I think our metropolitan areas, everybody's going to group to Roseburg.
Yeah.
Because all of our resources are centered in Roseburg. Our medical care is here, our treatment access is here.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
So, but I think identifying, we just need to have some honest conversations with the community members, the leaders of our community, and just like, hey, we got to be solution based. This is not right or left. This is like you mentioned it. These are our general community members that need support, need help.
Yes.
And how do we help them? And how do we come up with some valid programs? Is it community-based partners? Is it the city? As an elected leader, you're representing all of your community members. You know that. It's like, maybe that's been lost a little in the structure of our government. Is like, we're really here. If you're a leader, you're here for the people.
Well, honestly, when you get to Salem, and you hit the nail on the head, and I hate it because when we walk in that building, it's us against them, right? And it shouldn't be that way on humanity issues. Like there's some things that just need to be dealt with. And let's not forget a lot of those homeless folks are veterans, right? And that's a very important piece. There could be even some federal help, for that type of thing, and I think there is some. But if before we go too, I don't want to go too long here, Dane, and I'm certainly you are welcome to come back, and hopefully you will.
So I want some, I mean, you did the nail on the head. Is like there should never be a reason a veteran is unsheltered.
I would agree.
So VA campus, we need to make sure the funding's there too.
We got the state part. It took us 15 years, and that all started with Tim Freeman when he was in the legislature. And 15 years later, we finally got the $35 million guaranteed. But I will tell you, I didn't know this until this year, but that money's sweepable. They can still come in and take it. They tried to take it for wildfire fighting, and they literally called me because I'm the whip for the party. They literally called me and they said, hey, if we do this, would you guys be okay with it? We promise we'll put the money back in. I said, hey, if you do that, everybody in this state will know you did it. And I'm not okay with it because I don't trust government. Right. And I'm sorry, I just don't trust government. It's not about Democrat or Republican. I don't trust government. But what I want to ask you before we cut, if there's one message I can take back to Salem with me when I go back Sunday, what would that be?
We need to support all of our community members, unhoused, housed, people struggling. This community has a high poverty rate, who is bringing the human side back to everything we do and keeping that, like, if we can't agree, just bring it back to the human side of it and compassion and love for everybody and making sure our systems work for everybody. I think we're up for some challenging times upcoming, and nobody really knows the funding streams, how that works. So we just need to work together, and more importantly right now, to just like finding those grassroots, like Jared's program and feeding people on the street. There's a lot of people in this community that do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what we need to have some good conversations, and it has to involve everybody, and we have to come to an even ground. Yeah. And I think just keeping it centered on love and compassion for everybody.
Yep.
I meet some amazing people that happen to be unsheltered, and they touch my heart, they touch my world. And, recovery from homelessness or rejection is possible with this support and love of everybody around them.
I have a nonprofit, Champagne Creek Ranch, and every year we do food drives, canned food drives at Thanksgiving time to give back to the community. And last year was 3,500 pounds of food we brought in, and everybody needs to do their piece. I just think it's, do their part. I think it's important. And I love the fact that, guys like you are so passionate about what you want. And same thing with Jared. I mean, you guys are passionate about trying to help the community. So we need more of that, and there's no question about that.
I think that's one thing I love about Douglas County, living here 21 years. I see a lot of compassion, love for others. A shop with a cop, Christmas for kids, but the dynamic is, why do we have those things? Is because we have a high poverty rate.
Yes.
We have a lot of people that need support. And so those are great, amazing programs at work. What about the rest of the year? What about the other 364 days a year that they really need some support? Those are the things, like,
You have some
Glendale to up to the north is like some challenging things, and we can look out of the box. Campgrounds, old campgrounds, and turn them in maybe the sheltering situation where people can park their trailers and,
Well, listen, your voices are being heard. I get the message, and you and I need to continue, obviously, to communicate. And is there any parting thoughts before we go to a commercial break that you'd like to, like, how to get a hold of you, or would that be something you want to share?
Absolutely. I have my personal email is danezaner@gmail. That's what I use for Umpqua Heart communication, for the Douglas County Gay Archives. Umpqua Heart's more focused on the unsheltered piece, and then the LGBTQS2 plus is on the Douglas County Gay Archives. But I think it's just bringing that message of love back to people, and that together we can accomplish a lot of things.
Amen to that. And Trent, you've been kind of quiet.
Oh no, I'm just enjoying the conversation. I agree on this.
It's usual for you, Trent.
I know. I'm trying to be different, I guess. I just like the whole idea. You really point towards, the thing that's lacking is the infrastructure to implement a plan, and that's we talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
And anything from like just property development and how it's inhibitive just because of regulation. Just alone, bureaucracy alone keeps a lot of that from happening.
Look, I tell you, I can tell you from being in Salem, our state is ran on bureaucracy, and the sooner, if ever, we can cut the bureaucracy and get to what actually matters at the ground level,
Right.
the better off this state will be, and hopefully we can get there.
Right.
So, anyway, with that, we're about time for a commercial break. So, Dane, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you, cousin, and thank Mark.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more. I'd like to have another meeting, and we'll see if we can get our senator on board as well to come and have a meeting with you.
No, we look forward to it.
Yeah.
And I think our community looks forward to it. So thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you.
All right.
Well, that was some interesting topics today. I love the bipartisan part of this. Like I've said in the past, if it's a Douglas County problem, it's all of our problems. It doesn't matter what, if you're Republican or Democrat, we all have the issues. You go downtown Roseburg, you see homeless people on the streets, and you want to help out,
Right.
Try to make it a better place to be. That's my whole goal for being in the legislature, is to make things better. Dane pointed out some really great things that frankly, some of the stuff I'm still learning myself. And I love the fact that Lucas has the energy to Jared has the energy to try to cut down the middle, because
Right.
they're not wrong. I mean, there are some people that on both sides of that don't want to they don't want to be religious. They don't want to go to the mission. Maybe they have another reason they don't want to go here or there, but that doesn't mean there's not people that still need that help.
Right.
That was a great conversation, and I really look forward to many, many more of those conversations. What do you think?
I agree 100%, especially the fact that, we all agree on the fact, like I just said, that just getting to that point where we have people in place, like Dane said, that have the expertise to help with the cure versus give them something just so they have a place to go. Let's try to find a way to take them to the next level, to a home, and from a home to be viable in society.
I think there's an avenue for that. I've seen it happen. There was a young lady here a while back that was at Gary Leaf's center down there. I can't think of the name of what it's called, but there was a mutual friend of ours that knew the gal, and she was homeless, gone through bad divorce, ended up living in there for a while, and she was working her way into getting her CDL.
Right.
And they helped her go back and forth to the training school down there at Clark's Branch, and she was able to get her CDLs. I haven't stayed in touch with her since, but to the best of my knowledge, she has a job and she's back in the, in doing, being productive. So these are all great conversations. I wish we had hours and hours and hours to talk about it. And actually we do, but it just has to be stretched out over several days.
Right.
Yeah, cool. Well, it was great. And, we'll, see everybody back on our next episode, which is, next Friday. So thank you guys for joining us. And, we do have the ability to ask questions. You're welcome to ask questions online. We are eventually going to expand this into a live chat. We just quite haven't got there yet. We're still a little bit new, but stay with us. You're going to hear some exciting topics coming up in the future. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about the flood today, or I'm sorry, not today, but next Friday. We're going to talk about some stuff that really has affected Douglas County. So thanks again, and everybody take care.